Peace be with you, and welcome to this show. Today, I'm happy to have with me Nelly Mukoi, who is part of the Emmaus Dialogue Movement and also the Dean of our Emmaus College of Theology. Welcome, Nelly.
Okay, thank you so much, Father. The Emmaus Dialogue Movement, as Father mentioned, decided to open this Emmaus College of Theology. Will be offering a Bachelor of Science in Theology major in Interreligious Dialogue.
Well, now of course our top show is not a real lecture, it's a reflection. Times will come when we present in a more formal way, but starting from now we try to follow step by step some points, and we will be guided in our reflection basically, of course, our experience, but we will use some question or an answer of this booklet that we present before, working together on the road of dialogue, and even another book I wrote last year in preparation of this special year of Interreligious Dialogue. The title is Interreligious Dialogue, but I gave a subtitle very important, The Mission of Dialogue and Peace in the Light of the Beatitude. So I like to present in this occasion why in the light of Beatitude. Of course, the interreligious dialogue can be presented in many ways. We started to say and emphasizing that, of course, there are many ways of approach, but we start to emphasize that dialogue is essentially a spirituality, no? And of course, later on we will elaborate more about the form of dialogue, different form of dialogue, how this happens. But I think it's good for us to focus again and more on the spirit of interreligious dialogue. So we feel that in the spirit of interreligious dialogue we have many things, but among the so many things we have the Beatitude of Jesus. If we go to the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, we will find the Beatitude. Are familiar to us. I think all the Christian knows about the Beatitude, and when we think about the Beatitude we can say many things. People can ask what is the meaning of Beatitude, no?
Yes.
We can say start from the Latin word beatus, fortunate. In fact, sometimes instead of the word beatitude, blessed are, it's happy are those or fortunate, but the meaning is the same. And of course, if we read one by one the Beatitude, it's what we will do now, we will see that some Beatitude apparently are not simple to apply, you know, but at the end, this is the way that Jesus tells us. So we believe that in the light of Beatitude, in the religious dialogue will give us a lot of insight. So we start step by step. The Beatitudes are 8, and we will read one by one, and after we share with Nelly, I will read the first Beatitude, and I will ask Nelly to make some points of reflection. The first Beatitude is, how blessed are the poor in spirit, the reign of God is theirs.
Yes. Are we spiritually poor? Poor in our tradition, meaning Anawim. The Anawim in the Old and New Testament are those people who allow God and others to meet them in a deeper level. Poverty. Poverty. We live this in our daily life. the very reason why we consider the Beatitudes in general as part of our spiritual journey, Father, especially in our family and in our community. So, when we say anawim, when we say poor in spirit, we consider God as the center of our life.
Yes, and of course, so I can say pure in spirit is something more and deeper than real poor.
Yes.
There are many real poor. We can see the reason why they are poor. But poor in spirit, even somebody who is in a certain level of society can say, I want to be pure in spirit.
Yes.
This is the aspiration of all of us.
Yes.
I remember among the many things, I was surprised when I learned about the Pope. It's so important. The Pope is called the servant of the servant. So important, but must be the servant. So if this is for the Pope, what about us?
Yes.
No? The second beatitude is, blessed are the gentle, they shall have the earth's inheritance.
To be in dialogue requires gentleness. Gentleness in the spirit of humility. And this is the spirit of dialogue. The very reason why we consider dialogue as a spirituality, a life in dialogue that we really have to live in our daily life 24/7. Humility and gentleness. So
sometimes when I think about gentleness, I see some category of people who are very gentle. If you go to a business sector, those who sell are so gentle. But what is the purpose?
Yes.
They want to make their business, of course. What about the gentleness? The gentleness that is here come from the heart and come from the love of Jesus, and that is a deeper form of gentleness. The next beatitude is, blessed are those who mourn, they shall be comforted.
yes, when we say mourn, we mean of suffering. The value of suffering as a sign of love in the Bible. And it is a great entry point to understand the mystery of suffering and the need to read it as an entry point for dialogue and real peace, real peace that we experience.
Of course, when we think about suffering, the great model is Jesus,
Yes.
But of course, we have many other great examples, Job in the Bible,
yes.
and others. And without going to so many parts that we can take in the Bible on the life of the saint, we can say suffering is always an occasion to put us, purify us, and to enter deeply, And in dialogue, we need to purify. It's not something simple, but especially when we go to interreligious dialogue, it's a long process, but it's possible.
Yes.
Now, the fourth beatitude say, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for uprightness, they shall have their fill.
Uprightness is what God wants and what God requests. It is justice guided by love. And so therefore, Father Seb mentioned earlier about purification. So this uprightness requires a personal transformation before working for justice at the level of society. So to hunger and thirst is to desire greatly, expressing a feeling of great need, a need for God.
Yes, sometimes we see in our society justice without heart.
Yes.
In the Beatitude, justice is important, but with heart, with compassion. And this is also in dialogue, in the process of dialogue, if we consider even the history or conflict between religions, Christians and Muslim, or one family against another family, a certain point, yes, justice is important, but at the end, compassion and forgiveness is important. So, in the religious dialogue, ask this element. The next beatitude is, blessed are the merciful, they shall have mercy shown on them.
The concept of mercy is more than pity. Mercy implies true compassion. Yeah, si Father Seb mentioned a while ago about compassion. This is more than sharing of others' needs and aspirations. Many efforts of peace today do not consider this dimension of compassion on both sides. Compassion comes from the heart, and it is an attitude of love, and thus real dialogue.
Yes, this is a point that always make me to reflect. Often I like to say that in the religious dialogue we have to build a cultural dialogue, no? And give emphasis on the cultural dialogue that go beyond the other calculation, and we will see in another document of Pope Francis about human fraternity, mentioning about cultural dialogue that has this dimension of mercy. Next beatitude is, blessed are the pure in heart, they shall see God.
The pure and real Christians, clean of heart, are those who show themselves as Christians in all circumstances. There is no exemption. The purity of heart requires also a deepening of our experience of God, a spirituality of life in dialogue.
Yes, I think this is a very important point. Just I remember, among the other, our effort promoting dialogue, we have a prayer that is harmony prayer that starts with this idea: purify my eyes to see peace, purify my mind to understand peace, purify my heart to love peace, purify my memory to work for peace. So this kind of purification is important in our journey of dialogue, but especially in the religious dialogue. 7 Beatitude. Blessed are the peacemakers, they shall be recognized as the children of God.
Can we say that we are peacemakers? If we do something in the peace effort, are we guided by a sincere heart and by the spirit of all the Beatitudes? So as Christians, we are confronted by this present situation of conflict and violence. So the question is, are we ready to accept these challenges? These challenges of the Beatitudes, and to become a peacemakers?
Now, to be a peacemaker is a great challenge. The word peace is a word used and misused, no? It's like the word love, no? Everything is love. But the real peace is when come from the heart of peace, no? Peacemaker. And a peacemaker is one who is ready to sacrifice. It's not just to give order. Unfortunately, sometimes some process of peace become also business. Peace must be deeper, sincere, and this is the work of the peacemaker. The last beatitude that it's quite surprising, but Jesus put this as a beatitude. Say the 8th beatitude say, blessed are you when people abuse you and persecute you and speak every kind of calumny against you falsely. On my account, rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven. This is how they persecuted the prophet before you.
Persecution and abuses are still a reality and many parts of the world, including the Philippines. Of course, in the families, even Father, in our communities, persecuted for the cause of justice, says the Beatitude. And this Beatitude makes us aware of forms of persecution and abuses against God, against the self, against others, and creation. These abuses are the opposite of dialogue.
Yes, about persecution, there are many forms of persecution. We try to remember among the many also the persecution of the Christians in the world. It seems strange, but the statistics say that hundreds of Christians in the world, in different parts of the world, are persecuted. Now, can we say in the Philippines, officially, no. But here and there, in some areas, I think people, the Christian, feel that kind of persecution. So the Christian normally grow spiritually during time of persecution. If we think about the Roman Empire, the beginning of Christianity, the classical time of persecution, but in that time the church grew more, and in this time of the history. So it seems strange that Jesus say that is a beatitude, but he knows how persecution with suffering, but in the proper spirit, help people to grow. Now, unfortunately, we do not have so much time to share many other points about the, we can say, this important part, but before we close, we can say that really we invite all to reflect on this. Our talk show is not something that finish here, and to help our listener, we will add some points or question, points of reflection that you can continue to share, hopefully by group or personally, and going back to this reflection, maybe all of us, we can learn more. So we close now this part of our talk show. Say thanks to the Lord for giving us this challenge. And indeed, if we really understand in this way, the Beatitude will be a great way for us to grow in our dialogue in general, but also in our spirit of interreligious dialogue. And as we close in the previous talk show, we can discover more that we are brothers and sisters. Padayon and move on.
Thank you so much.